Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Through this discourse, I have decided to highlight the excerpts of a celebrated judgment available in our law journal, but its significance and far-reaching implications in our constitutional domain as far as constitutional cases are concerned, that is Maulvi Tamizuddin Khan versus Federation of Pakistan, reported in PLD 1955, Sindh 96. Although many discussions has already taken place, which is available on social media, the reference of this judgment is cited in and referred in many autobiographies. It's the wisdom, the constitutional jurisprudence, the significance and delicacy involved in the promotion of democracy and parliamentary form of government is the hallmark of this judgment. Although later on, through the infamous doctrine of necessity and Kelsen theory, as coined by Justice Muhammad Munir along with some other honorable judges, but with dissenting view of Justice A.R. Cornelius, this judgment was overruled. On that aspect of the matters, on some other occasion, a thorough discussion shall be taken up. So as far as the brief facts arising out of this very judgment, which is also part and parcel of the constitutional paper of LLB student of third year, final year rather, in the previous system. Now, as you know, the 5 years program has been introduced by the law colleges on the basis of law admission test, LAT, but still some previous sessions are underway with 3 years LLB program. This Maulvi Tamizuddin Khan, who was having a Bengali origin, but then yet Pakistan was not disintegrated and Bangladesh had not emerged on the world map as an independent country. Maulvi, in the 50s, Maulvi Tamizuddin Khan was the president of the Constituent Assembly, and then Karachi was the capital. He had succeeded Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah as president of the Constituent Assembly. On 24th of October 1954, then Governor General Ghulam Muhammad, through a proclamation, dissolved the Constituent Assembly. And also some of the respondents referred in this writ petition were made ministers who were not amongst the members of the then parliament, legislative assembly, rather almost stranger, non-elected person, and the cabinet was reconstituted on the pretext that their appointment is necessary for running the day-to-day affairs of the state. So that was the So, the later years, the similar kind of device was adopted by the dictators whenever they dissolve the assemblies by exercising the powers of 58(2)(b), although now it has been this is no more available with the president, but the army chief, if any need arise, by crafting concept of provisional constitutional order. Previously, whenever they took over through a code day, so this is another. So now today we will confine to the facts of this very important case in the constitutional history of Pakistan. So as far as the proclamation is concerned, as usual, this was the justification available with the Governor General according to his own vision, political crisis. So constitution machinery has broken down. A state of emergency is prevailing in the country. The confidence of the people is no more available to the Constituent Assembly. So there is a trust deficit. So they cannot be the members of the Constituent Assembly can't be termed to be the real representative of the people of Pakistan. So he, by exercising his authority, dissolved the assembly with the undertaking that action will be held as early as possible, which kind of promise was always made by all the dictators. In this backdrop, according to the Governor General, the security and stability of the country is at stake. So there is a preference shall be given to the personal, sectional and provincial interest. Hence, in supreme national interest, so it was considered inevitable to dissolve the Constituent Assembly. So the person was also inducted. In this scenario, the Maulvi Tamizuddin Khan, President of the Assembly, filed a writ petition before the Honorable then Sindh Chief Court. That is a High Court. And in those days, the Federal Court, the nomenclature of the Federal Court was, which is later the Supreme Court. So this wondrous bench was headed by Justice Constantine and three others, namely Honorable Justice C.D. Vellani, Honorable Justice Muhammad Bachchan and Honorable Justice Muhammad Bakhsh. So this petition was entertained while exercising extraordinary special jurisdiction. And that petition was filed under Article 223A of the Government of India Act 1935. Or as you are all aware of the fact, after the independence on 14th August 1947 till 1956, the assembly, the Constituent Assembly, for which that was as a matter of fact was established, unfortunately failed to frame the constitution of the Pakistan. So these kind of yet on the basis of the interim arrangements, the affairs of the state were being run. 1935, that Government of India Act, very exhaustive act promulgated by the British United Kingdom for the running the affairs of the United India then. So, but this Article 223 is the amending article. Some amendment was brought vesting the exercise of writ jurisdiction to the Sindh Chief Court. So, this concept of different kinds of writs, mandate, the orders, it is having its historical background from the English judicial system. However, twofold prayer was made in this writ petition by Maulvi Tamizuddin Khan. First, issuance of writ of mandamus means he wanted actions of the Governor General of dissolution of the Constituent Assembly be declared ultra vires, without lawful authority, unconstitutional, with mala fide. So, if that proclamation is set aside by the Honorable Sindh Chief Court, then he be restored in his position as President of the Constituent Assembly. So, that is in that manner mandamus. Whereas, second prayer was with respect to issuance of writ petition, quo warranto writ petition. Because the cabinet which was reconstituted and some of the respondents, the list who have been mentioned, were made the ministers through the same proclamation. So, they be restrained, quo warranto, if somebody is holding a public office without any lawful authority, this writ can be obtained, an order can be obtained through this sort of writ which is known as the quo warranto. Ultimately, when the case was taken up for hearing, pro and contra arguments were heard. Whatever the grounds taken by the Maulvi Tamizuddin Khan is in his petition were argued with vehemence by their counsel. They threw light on the constitutional history, as I have told, because at that very time the country was being run under the provisions of Government of India Act. The office of the Governor General was at place. The Qaeda Muhammad Jinnah was the first Governor General of then Pakistan. This Maulvi Tamizuddin Khan, who had also been the first President of the Constituent Assembly, whereas Maulvi Tamizuddin Khan was the President of Constituent Assembly, which stood dissolved. Because at that time when the movement for independent country launched by the then leadership of the Pakistan Muslim League and All India Congress, as led by their respective leaders, Britisher, who were actually the ruler of this and ruled for so many years, introduced Indian Independence Act 1947, and this is in the continuation of that, cabinet mission plan of 1946, when the deliberations and discussions were underway between the potential leaders of the then united India. But through this piece of legislation, Independence Act 1947, two independent dominions were declared. India as an independent country and Pakistan, whereas the princely states were free to exercise their own choice, either to accede or cede. Means if they are already on the basis of contiguity and proximity are attached with are geographically more closer with the India, they can opt for that, and otherwise Pakistan and the China Kuanan maybe the population, if the Muslims are in majority, so they can opt for that. But still, regarding some states, the controversy is still unresolved. So in this background, when I was going through this judgment after so many years, might be I had read, and I was student of law, I was beginner in the profession as a lawyer, 20-25 years back. So for the this can be beneficial for the students of law then who would aspire to appear for exam on the basis of this, that fulfillment of, after fulfillment of that criterion and eligibility set for the different examinations of officers of judicial officers. A very crucial point which struck to my mind, and according to the Attorney General who was representing the then federal government and representing the Governor General, being one of the respondents, has mainly argued before the bench headed by the Justice Constantine, the Chief Justice of Chief Court, was with respect to this plea that although there is a amending provision which vests powers of issuance writ jurisdiction and issuance of writs like mandamus and quo warranto as prayed for by the petitioner, but since no assent of the Governor General was obtained, therefore it cannot be construed to be the valid piece of legislation, or reference of some other 46 such like amending provisions and notifications were referred, but those years which had not yet been placed before the Governor General for seeking his assent. But the honorable bench who held that it is just a technical kind of objection, and on the basis of this, because the ultimate the wish and will and the sovereignty lies in the Constituent Assembly, being the representative of the people of the country. Then, if firstly judgment was rendered by Justice Constantine, Chief Justice of Sindh High Court, then with the separate notes, reasons by the Justice Muhammad Baksh put forth very reasons, who traced back the whole history of the constitution development with reference to Independence Act, and particular very interesting how even the Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, when was taking oath as Governor General, so he refused to utter the words in the name of His Majesty, indicating the king. But since these were the Pakistan and India were certainly being united, India was the colony like many other, and they were having after independence and separation, they were having their own status as independent dominion, but attached with the term to be the Commonwealth countries. So that was, however, the charismatic leader, founder of Pakistan, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, stated in unequivocal and unambiguous terms that he would remain faithful to the Constitution, not His Majesty. Similarly, in the earlier part, when the deliberations were underway, so this was his conception, that while running the affairs of the state, so there should be no restrictions and embargo can be put at place for restraining them or for creating some limitations. Remaining will be. Since this esteemed judgment has been leaving unparalleled, unprecedented kind of contribution for the growth and evolution of democratic institutions, and this kind of applause and act of commendation and appreciation on the part of the then honorable judges who were gracing that honorable bench, including one then Chief Justice Mr. Justice Constantine. They took stock of whole the affairs and the intrigues and conspiracies hatched by the establishment to destabilize the democratic institutions from the beginning for their own vested interest and ulterior motives. So, in addition to going through this judgment, some history is filled with different incidents. In his own autobiography, Maulvi Tamizuddin Khan later years has mentioned that when he was not allowed even to go out of his house, enabling himself to approach the Sindh Chief Court for filing this writ petition and calling in question the actions of the Governor General of dissolution of the Constituent Assembly. So we, by putting on clad and boarding on a rickshaw, sort of transported, and even his lawyer, Mr. Sharifuddin Padapata, who later on tilted with establishment all the time. Similarly, then it is also, I have read somewhere, the father of who later became Chief Justice of Supreme Court of Pakistan, Syed Sajjad Ali Shah. His father was Syed Roshan Ali, who had been Deputy Registrar of the Sindh Chief Court in those days, and he was pressurized for not entertaining that writ petition and for placing objections. When the Maulvi Tamizuddin Khan was contemplating, so but he did not succumb to any threats. So such like gems in this legal fraternity shall be remembered till this world exists. They had not, they refused to accept any external but pressure. At the same time, whenever the Justice Muhammad Munir, who subsequently was heading the bench of the Honorable then Federal Court, the Supreme Court, and set aside this judgment, and the Federation of Pakistan, then Federation of Pakistan, had challenged the vices of this judgment, who had coined that doctrine of necessity and Kelsen theory. So when I was reading another judgment a few days back, I have also delivered a talk on that, a separate talk, analysis of a Supreme Court judgment. It was pertaining to that principle of falses in omnibus, because that was made inapplicable too by the same Honorable Justice Muhammad Munir, who is inventor of, rather reiterated and towed the line of that doctrine of necessity and Kelsen theory, made inapplicable that principle of which marred the criminal justice system, and rather focused in grain to be sifted from the chaff, pick and choose of the appraisal of and evaluation of the testimony in criminal case. If some portion can be believed of the same witness and some can be disbelieved, whereas it is absolutely contrary to the principle of falses in falsen. But in the case of that Muhammad Ilyas, this has been again that has been made applicable. And because now there is a reference of a judgment of then Honorable Bench of the Lahore High Court, which was being headed by the same Justice Muhammad Munir back in 1951. This is reported in probably 1951. Let me refer, I forgot, PLD 1951, Lahore 66, in case titled Ghulam Muhammad and others. So, therefore, in this that judgment of in which Constable Khidr Hayat was summoned extraordinarily, and was a recommendation was made to the Session Judge Naurowal for initiating proceeding for the perjury as contemplated under section 194 PPC. This was that appeal of Muhammad Ilyas. This is the last year, in the year 2019, this judgment was rendered, and in the same judgment there is a reference of that very judgment, and subsequently in the subsequent years. So the role of the Justice Muhammad Munir was certainly is not that much praiseworthy as that of Justice A.R. Cornelius, as that of Justice Constantine, Justice Villani, Justice Muhammad Bachal, Honorable Justice Muhammad Baksh. So, and when this aspect of the matter was being discussed by the Honorable bench of who rendered this judgment in the Khidr Hayat miscellaneous application in the appeal of Muhammad Ilyas, so this bent of mind, everybody has got his own priorities of life, own preferences, own biases and prejudices, on thinking and focusing on some aspect of the matter. In this regard, while referring that very judgment, and although some other judgments, so this is just for a passing remarks, because I would always very humbly request to my followers on my YouTube channel, and certainly they are all concerned with the legal fraternity, judges, lawyers, and even the student of law. So I just it's a kind of you can appetizer or a teaser. So they must go through this judgment for further clarification and satisfaction, and for learning, for their capacity building, enhancing their legal acumen. So this was the judgment PLD 1955, Sindh 96. Last but not the least, although this was set aside by a bench of then Federal Court headed by Justice Muhammad Munir, the space, the constitutionalist, the jurist, the people who believe in the rule of law, supremacy of constitution, fundamental rights, and the upholder of democratic institution would always remember the significance of this judgment. Thank you very much.